Welcome to My Mending Monday. We are so excited that you're joining us. Today is Perplexing Placement Puzzles Episode 4. It's the last and most challenging puzzle of this series, so students will have the opportunity to apply the strategies they've derived and learned. I'm really excited. Are you ready? Let's get started. Perplexing Placement Puzzles Episode 4. Beach balls. Terrific Toys was having a sale on beach balls. There were 3 shelves and each shelf contained 3 balls. Use the clues to determine the correct location of each beach ball. So in today's puzzle, we are really applying, or students are applying strategies they have derived from episodes 1, 2, and 3. So if you have not been through those episodes, you'll definitely want to stop, go back, and start there, because this episode will go pretty quickly. So let's look. Students have already determined that you don't have to do the clues in order or document them in order. So let's skip the first 2 clues because that's going to be very helpful, but not yet. Let's go to the 3rd clue. The ball with the polka dots, the purple polka dots, was directly above the ball with the orange stripes. If students haven't mentioned it up until this point, probably now is a great time to mention we need labels. So I have labeled the spaces with numbers and the beach balls with letters, but you could do it other ways if you choose. The ball with the purple polka dots, which is F, is directly above the ball with the orange stripes, which is H. And in a previous puzzle, we've discussed the importance of developing some symbol that shows the difference between directly and somewhere in that direction. This is just the one I made up. Students may have their own. So let's keep reading for a clue that gives us some very specific information. The next clue is not as specific because we do have 2 blue balls and we also have 2 orange beach balls. So we'll skip that. Let's go down to this clue. The center ball on the top shelf is a solid color. So that lets us know that 2 is either A, B, or C. Okay, let's come down to this clue. It's pretty specific. The ball with the red stripes is directly below the ball with the yellow stars. So E is directly below I. And the solid blue ball is on the bottom shelf. So that would mean A is on or in space 7, 8, or 9 on the bottom shelf. Now, one of the things that we discussed earlier is you don't want to tell students about connections, but what you do want to do is go slowly enough that they start to see things. So if you're not going too quickly, somebody might notice, hey, the solid blue ball's on the bottom shelf. A is on 7, 8, or 9. So 2 cannot be A. Okay, great. Let's keep going. Next, you might want to look at this clue. Each of the balls on the top shelf contained a different primary color. So if you think about primary colors, you've got red, yellow, and blue. So the top shelf is 1, 2, and 3. And I'm going to write this vertically, and we've talked about that in a previous clue also, because that way it's not assumed that they're in that order. So, okay, 1, 2, and 3 are red, yellow, and blue. So yellow is pretty easy. There's only 1, so that's I. Red could be B or E. And blue could be A or D. But if students already know that A is on the bottom shelf, they'll know that one is D. And if you're slowing down, they might not notice it now, they might notice it later. E is directly below I, so it can't be E. So 1, 2, and 3 is I, B, and D. That's helpful. Now, you also know, and students may pick up on this, that number 2 is either B or C. Well, the only choice is B. So B is number 2. Okay. So now I have 1 and 3 for I and D, and I'll have to just come back to that. Let's look at another clue. I did this one. Let's do the balls on the right side are blue, orange, and green. So the right side would be 3, 6, and 9. And I'll write these horizontally so it doesn't infer that I know the order. Blue, orange, and green. So blue could be B or D, except I already know it's not B because that's in space 2. So I know D is blue. Green has to be G. But I also know if it's orange, there's a choice. It's either C or H. Okay, so if students pause and think about that for a minute, what will they be able to determine? So look for, and have them look for letters that you see in more than one clue. H is directly below F, but F is not a choice here. So this cannot be H, it has to be C. So let's look at some other options and things that we might know. D is either 3, 6, or 9, but D is also either 1, 2, or 3. So D has to be 3, which means I has to be 1. And once you know I is 1, you can come back to this clue and you know E is in space 4. Okay. Now, this is where it can get a little challenging. I know the one clue I haven't used, I've used this clue. I have not used F is directly above H. I only have 2 spots left where that could apply, 5 and 8 or 6 and 9. I know it's not 6 and 9, so I know that F and H have to be in 5 and 8. Okay, so now let's come back and think about what that actually means. And sometimes you might want to even let students have pictures of these that they can move around, because this is the challenging part. None of the solid balls were on the same horizontal or vertical row. So if I talk about solid, which ones are solid? Let me get a color that we're not even really using, purple. And A, B, and C. So A is solid, but this is solid, B is solid, and C. So I don't know where, I know B and C, A and C have to be in 6 and 7. So I should probably not write it that way. Okay, so how would I know which one is which? Well, I know A has to be on the bottom row. So I know that A is in 7 and C is in 6. Okay, so then 9. What's left? Well, if you come back here, or even if you don't, there's only one left. C is in 6, so G is in 9. And you should probably check that last clue that we haven't used, which is actually the first clue, the striped balls. So that's D, E, and H. Just make sure that none of them are on the same horizontal or vertical row. And they're not. So we have successfully solved the puzzle. And that is how it looks. So you can show your students this next to this so they can see the labels. And yes, they are where we placed them. But good job. Fantastic. Thank you so much for participating in Mind Bending Mondays. We really want to hear from you and we value your thoughts. So if you would like to win a free prize just for telling us what you think, just follow one of these rules to enter. We would love to give you something for your thoughts, and we really appreciate your time. Also, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. We don't want you to miss a single episode of Mind Bending Monday. Thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you next week.